One. Good evening, everybody. Rob Gutro here. This is my first Facebook Live, so I am giving it a shot to introduce my latest book called The Case Files of Inspired Ghost Tracking. So, welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a note and let me know. Hopefully this is showing right now on the page. I've got Margaret on the line. Margaret, can you see the live broadcast?
Not right this minute.
Okay.
I'm refreshing to try to get it there.
Okay. All right. Well, for those of you who don't know, Margaret is the founder of Inspired Ghost Tracking, and Margaret founded the group about 10 years ago. So, with that, Margaret, would you like to give a little introduction about yourself and a little bit about the group?
All right, so let's see. I'm Margaret. I am pretty much a mother of two. When my daughter, my youngest daughter, left the house and went to college is when I decided to start a group in the paranormal because I've always had interest in it. So I started the group in 2008, and we have gone through all kinds of stuff with it. We have the meetup group that anyone can join, and we have lectures the first Friday of every month, and then we have investigations that all of us can go on.
And
we
now
also have.
So now we're doing the lectures virtually. We're doing them on Facebook until the pandemic is over, I guess.
Yep.
So you can find those on the Inspired Ghost Tracking page, and I'll share that link with you. Go on, Margaret. Sorry about that.
All right. So then we have the core group. My core group, there's about 12 of us in there. And we are the ones that go out and do the private investigations. We also do public lectures for the group. And we help people that need help with things going on in their homes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Margaret. So many of the Inspired Ghost Tracking cases that I've been on are in this new book. We did publish a couple of cases in some of my older books. One is Lessons Learned from Talking to the Dead. That book, that actually has the cover of that actually has the face of a ghost that we ran into. This is the face. You can see the nose and the eyes and the mouth down below there. This case is also featured in the new book, Case Files of Inspired Ghost Tracking. So just a little bit about me for those of you who really don't know who I am. I'm a medium, and I'm one of the members of Inspired Ghost Tracking. I'm also an author, and this is my 7th book, actually. So I'm very, very thankful to Margaret for allowing me to put this together, and to Rhonda, who is a lead investigator and a historian that actually fact-checked some of the things that we got on the investigations and was able to confirm things, especially in one particular chapter in this book. Margaret, Rhonda, and I were asked by someone in Federal Hill of Baltimore to walk around and develop a ghost tour. Well, there was nothing as a foundation. So in this book, you will read about how we walked around one day, and I met all of these dead people, if you will, around the course of, I don't know, 10 blocks, Margaret? Was it about 10 blocks? I can't remember how long it was.
I believe it was about 10 blocks.
And we saw Federal Hill, the park that overlooks Baltimore Harbor. And there were all kinds of ghosts from all different eras, as a matter of fact. One that stood out that Rhonda was able to confirm for us historically through newspaper accounts. Well, I remember, I think it was on Montgomery Street, where I sensed a young man was run over by a carriage. And sure enough, Rhonda came back about within a week, and she was able to confirm that we got that there was in fact a carriage accident. Anyway, so that's just one of the chapters in this book. What's interesting about being a paranormal investigator, and Margaret, I think you could probably add a lot to this, is that when we get called from someone who is a resident of a private home, we never know what to expect. Every single case is different. People think that a ghost is a ghost. Well, that's not true, because when we die, our memories, our personality, and our knowledge couple with the energy within us, and we choose to stay here earthbound, which is what I call a ghost, or we move on and cross over, and that's what I call a spirit. So there's a difference between a ghost and a spirit. Ghosts are earthbound in a place that they're choosing, and spirits cross over, and they can come to you anywhere, anytime, any place. So the ghosts that we've encountered all maintain their personalities, and that's really important, because there are some ghosts that don't want to cross over. There are some with good personalities, and there are some with not so good personalities. Margaret, can you add to that? Is there anything that you would like to say about the bad personalities versus the good personalities?
I think that a lot of them, you do have a lot of the good personalities, but I think the bad personalities do outnumber them. But it's because of something in their lives that have made them upset, angry, or something. It's not that they're bad people. I think 90% of our calls that we get for help, the people swear it's a demon, or there's something evil in their house, and we find out that in fact it's not. It's somebody looking for help.
And help me is, I think I've written this in a couple of times in my books, is that help me is one of the most common things that we get, basically from electronic voice phenomena, or EVP, recordings of ghosts in different places. So they often do want help, and what they want help with is to escape being trapped on Earth and cross over, and join their loved ones on the other side. So some of the other things that you'll read about in this new book, and by the way, it's available on Amazon. It's $9.99 for paperback, and it's $3.99 for ebook. And ebook seems to be a good way to go, because the deliveries during this trying period are very slow, and we don't want to overtax the post office any more than it already is. Yeah. So there are a couple of interesting things in this book. There are a lot of interesting cases in this book, and like I said, every single one is different. One involves a spirit dog and what we call the burned ghost. That was all in one investigation, and we were actually able to confirm the identity of the burned ghost, and who it was, and why this ghost followed this person home, and then we were able to cross them over. So it's really weird, but it's true, and there were quite a few of us on that investigation. There's another chapter in this book that I call a House of Darkness. And if you ever go into a home and you feel uncomfortable, you're likely feeling what's called residual energy. So residual energy is energy that is impressed upon the structure by the emotions of the people that lived in there or live in there. So if there are people that are argumentative, if they fight a lot, they're going to impress a lot of bad energy. And anybody that's kind of sensitive, you can walk into a house and you can feel that, you can just feel like a heaviness. Margaret, how many times have you felt a heaviness when you walked into a different house?
Oh, there's been a lot of times that we've gone in, and it's not only the ghosts, it's the people, the occupants of the house, or people that lived there before them that were feeling it. But there's a lot of times all of us will walk in and say, ooh, it just doesn't feel good.
So what do you, as the founder of Inspired Ghost Tracking, as the team lead, what do you usually or generally recommend that homeowners do in order to purge themselves of that bad energy?
We do a lot of different things with them. We tell them to, number one, almost like some of the things you tell us, open their house up so that the light can come in. You know, darkness, you get yuck. Cleanse their house with sage, and I always tell them, even with your lavenders or your vanilla scents, that they can help with it. Music, you know, you play your good music and all that. You know, a good cleaning of the house. We've gone into a lot of houses that could use a little house cleaning. We'll just put it that way. But,
yeah,
you know, clean the house, get rid of the negative energy, and open it up for the light and the air to come in to clear it out.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that we ran into, and this is not a case that you're going to read about in the book, but it's one that we kind of laugh about a little bit, is that we went into a house that was totally, well, disgusting. What's interesting about being a paranormal investigator is that you never know how people keep their houses. So generally, when we go into a house, people are pretty decent about, you know, keeping up their house and so forth. It's not usually, you know, unkempt. I guess because maybe they clean up a little bit before we come in the door, right? But there was one particular case where we were called in because they said that they felt that there were dark energies and so forth, and they really wanted us to come in there. Well, Margaret, I think you were reluctant to say yes. Is that right? You know which one I'm talking about?
Yes. I mean, it was not a nice house, that's for sure.
So the house in which I'm speaking, and I'm not going to use any names or locations or anything, but there were 4 young adults that were living there. And when we went in there, it was the most filthy, disgusting thing I think I've ever seen. There was just dirt and filth all over the floor. There were clothes laying around. There were filthy dishes in the sink that were piled up. And some of the team members actually went downstairs, I think in the basement, and they saw black mold on the basement. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so we kind of get out of there as quickly as possible.
Yes.
What's funny is that Tom, my husband, who is also a paranormal investigator and a medium in his own right, and a big fan of Mr. Monk, would not go past the front door. Instead, he was horrified, as we all were, but he was beyond horrified. So he went back to the car, and that's where he sat until we were done, which was pretty quickly.
Yes.
So I bring this up because an unkempt house adds to the negative energy within the house, and it adds to the oppression. So especially in this time, now that we're in the middle of a pandemic and we are all home, one thing you can do is clean your house. Organize it. If you have clutter, organize it. You'll find that after you finish organizing and cleaning, that it will feel lighter. You might not feel it immediately, but it will feel lighter and it will feel better. So the organization and cleanliness do really add to positive emotional energy. And by the way, if you have a pet, you need to clean your house for your pet too, because this particular house had a dog, a senior dog, and I think Margaret will never forget that I read them the riot act.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, for not taking care of their house, especially because they have a pet in the house. I really didn't care about the people, but I certainly cared about the pet. So,
Well, Rob, you have a question on here.
Okay.
It says, I heard pets can absorb out the negative energy. Is that true?
Well, I don't know if they can absorb the negative energy, but they emit positive energy. So, especially positive emotional energy. And because animals give us unconditional love, we can just go to our pet, whether it's a dog or a cat, even though it's harder to hug a cat than it is a dog, and just give them a hug. And it really does, it actually scientifically, it has been proven to lower the blood pressure and to elevate your mood. So that totally helps with getting rid of the negative energy, at least around you or the way you perceive it. So thanks for that. Thanks for that question. Thanks for catching that, Margaret. I see. I need a producer.
Hey, I gotta catch the things when I see them.
By the way, one thing. Actually, there are two things that I want to mention. Two special mentions. Earlier this week, I had the great opportunity to speak to Scott Colburn. Scott Colburn was he was out in Lincoln, Nebraska. He had his own radio show in which actually I was a guest of his for the first time. He led ghost tours in Lincoln, Nebraska, and he passed away suddenly and unexpectedly of a heart issue. I think it was like 3 days after my interview. So I was totally shocked by that. He's full of life, such a great guy, and so I would like to dedicate this little Facebook Live to him tonight and to a very good friend of mine that I just found out passed away today, 10 minutes before I came on. It's my friend Charlie Sill. Charlie and I worked together at the Weather Channel, and we were both in the radio department of the Weather Channel. And he was the most professional broadcaster, fun guy, really wonderful, and he leaves a partner behind. He had been battling cancer for quite some time, and unfortunately Charlie passed today. So this show is dedicated to Scott and to Charlie. I know that they're in spirit now, and they're both going to be giving me messages. Actually, Scott already let a friend of his know that he was around, so that was pretty cool.
Well, Rob, Joe Lyons is watching from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh,
and
thank you, Joe.
He said that he first that he saw a little bit of your show on Saturday, so he brought up Scott Colburn too.
Oh, great! Thank you.
And then you also have somebody from Sioux City, Iowa.
Oh, wow. Well, hello, Sioux City, Iowa. Thanks for dropping in. So I'm not going to go on very long, but I kind of wanted to give you kind of an overview of the new book and what Margaret, what this great group that Margaret has put together, and some of the things you can read in the book. And Margaret, would you like to take a minute to shout out some of the different team members and tell people what they do? Because I think that everybody really contributes to this group, and everybody has made these investigations successful. And we really have helped a lot of people. And when you read these stories, you'll see the crazy things that families have had to deal with in their homes. You know, things that they totally didn't expect. But Margaret, do you want to give a shout out to a couple of core members?
Yeah, so our core members, and I'll start with our current ones. We have Rob, Troy Klein. I don't know if he's on there. I haven't seen him pop up. Of course, Tom and Diane, who are all of our mediums. Then you have Rhonda. Rob mentioned her earlier. She's one of our lead investigators, and she's like our historian and researcher with it. Randy Keller, Amy and Jimmy York, Dana Giller. Who am I missing? Greg. Can't forget
yes.
Greg, can
and
we?
Randy.
And I said Randy Keller.
Okay.
He's another author. Randy and Greg kind of keep us up with equipment and up to date with what's going on with the equipment and what's best to use. So you can look all of us up. We're all on Facebook and all. Some of our older core members that are not with us at this time due to different reasons and their family obligations and all. I know that I saw Craig online here with us, and he was a big part of our core group at one time, and when we need help, he still comes up and helps with it. So you will read a little bit. I think he was mentioned a couple of times in there.
Yes.
Anthony is also one of the ones that there's different stories that his name might be thrown out there with the investigations. I'm missing anyone that we no longer have, but was part of some of these investigations.
I remember Becky was part of the investigation that's not in the book, the one about the dirty house.
Oh yeah.
Becky got she got a big kick out of me kind of telling off the homeowner to take care of her house and clean it.
Yes, I mean, when Rob throws different things like that out, we all sit up and take notice.
Yeah, they certainly did take notice. So,
but I would not be able to do this without all of these people that help me. But I also, we would not be doing it if we didn't have the clients.
true.
And my clients, there's a lot of my clients that have friended me on Facebook and all. You never know if one of your stories are in there. You're going to have to read the book and find out. But they are still with me. I still talk to them, and I still, check up on them, make sure everything's going on good at the house.
That's awesome. That's a very caring manager right there. By the way, a big shout out to Craig. Craig, who is on. Craig was actually part of our double murder investigation that you'll read about in the book. And I think that Craig saw one of the shadows, the shadow that
Yep,
of
he
one
did.
One of the ghosts. So there are two ghosts in that particular adventure. And it's called Double Murder, the Double Murder Ghost Investigation, because going in there, we didn't know anything about it. But after we came out of there, myself and Troy, the other medium, had wound up talking to two different ghosts, and they were actually brutally murdered in the home, and it was proven by through the police report, all the details that we got. So it's kind of eerie. By the way, before I start to wrap up, I want to talk about a couple of the other books that I wrote. One is the one that I just published last year, and this one's called Kindred Spirits. This cover is one that I came up with, and Got You Covered, or Covers by Lisa, is the one that made this cover. This is about a spirit that has been communicating with me for 14 years. It's actually Tom's late partner. So I get all the inside scoop about Tom that he doesn't tell me. So it's kind of cool. As you can see behind me, there are my Pets in the Afterlife covers. So I have Pets in the Afterlife 1 and 2, working on Pets in the Afterlife 3. That's going to be the next book. Ghosts of England on a Medium's Vacation. Now that we can't really fly or go anywhere, if you want to read about all the ghosts and the history of England, this book is one that I published 3 years ago, and it will take you through the Tudor places in England, because Tom is kind of an amateur historian on the Tudors, and you'll see all the ghosts that we met together, actually. And there are a couple of other books I got too, but I'm not going to go into those. Anyway, I guess just one more thing before I go. There are a couple of other really cool stories in here. Well, there are 18 chapters, so there's plenty of things. If you live in Maryland, we talk about Dr. Mudd's house, Samuel Mudd, who was the doctor that treated John Wilkes Booth after he assassinated President Lincoln. John Wilkes Booth stopped by his house. Dr. Mudd still haunts his house. And we have picture proof in the book of Dr. Mudd coming down the stairway. And I believe, is that Rhonda's picture, Margaret?
Yes, it is.
So you see that?
Yeah, Rhonda took it one of the times when we were down there at Dr. Mudd's. And that's actually the one that we ended up on TV. What was the name of that? Caught on Tape.
Oh, that's right.
So, yeah, that was the one that me and Rhonda were on. And it was due to her picture, plus a couple of different pictures from there and different EVPs that we had captured.
Yeah, so if we can find the link to that, maybe we can post it. And Margaret also has a chapter in the book, too, about her a house that she grew up in. It's called the Old Yellow House. And I'm not going to give anything away about it. But so I'm going to wrap this up in about 90 seconds. So we'll stop at 30 minutes. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining me tonight. If you would like to learn about the ghosts of Causey Mansion, I'm going to be doing another Facebook Live tomorrow night, my second one in a row. That's going to be on the Inspired Ghost Tracking page, and I will post the link to that so that you can see it as well. Tom and I investigated this historic mansion a couple of years ago, and we found quite a few ghosts that lived there that were reported actually by the people that were staying there. So we'll take you through that. And that's going to be a slideshow, so you don't have to look at me. There's a lot better things to look at. And that's about it. So for anybody who is interested in my books, you can get them on ebook or paperback. The paperbacks are under $10. I'm self-published, and I don't believe in charging a lot of money for books. I wrote them for entertainment and for education, and so that you understand how it all works. And that you can recognize signs from your loved ones, whether people or pets. So my website is robgutro.com or petspirits.com, And I will put the links to Inspired Ghost Tracking. You can just type in Inspired Ghost Tracking on the internet, and Margaret will come up. So.
Yeah, it's actually Inspired Ghost Tracking Meetup Group.
Okay. Thank you, Margaret. All right. Well,
Thank you.
all right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Good night.